Karen's voice was a sledgehammer, smashing through the quiet of my backyard with the subtlety of a freight train. "You think you can slack off on my property, you lazy idiots?" she bellowed, her chins wobbling as she loomed over Miguel, a wiry contractor who'd been laying bricks for my new patio. Her sister, Darlene, stood beside her, arms crossed, her pinched face mirroring Karen's sneer. The two of them, self-appointed queens of the HOA, had stormed into my yard uninvited, their floral blouses clashing with the dust and sweat of the worksite. I watched from my kitchen window, my phone already recording, capturing every venomous word for the district attorney. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. 6 months ago, I'd moved into this quiet cul-de-sac, chasing the dream of a peaceful home. The neighborhood was pristine, with manicured lawns and nosy neighbors who seemed to know everyone's business before breakfast. Karen and Darlene, the HOA's most zealous enforcers, had welcomed me with a laminated rulebook thicker than a dictionary and a smile that didn't reach their eyes. "We keep things orderly here," Karen had said, her tone dripping with superiority. I nodded, eager to avoid trouble. But trouble, it seemed, had a way of finding me. The conflict erupted over my backyard renovation. I'd hired Miguel and his crew to build a patio and a small gazebo, nothing extravagant, just a place to sip coffee and escape the world. The HOA approved the plans, or so I thought, after weeks of back and forth over aesthetic compliance. But Karen and Darlene, who lived 2 houses down, took it upon themselves to micromanage every nail and plank. They'd show up daily, nitpicking the crew's work, complaining about noise, and demanding changes that weren't in the blueprints. Miguel, ever professional, bit his tongue, but I could see the strain in his clenched jaw. Today, though, they'd crossed a line. I'd stepped inside to grab a glass of water when I heard Karen's voice boom through the open window. "You're doing it wrong. As usual," she snapped. Peeking out, I saw her jabbing a manicured finger at a stack of bricks. "These are off-color. Do you even know what you're doing?" Miguel, sweat dripping down his face, tried to explain that the bricks matched the approved samples. Darlene cut him off, her voice shrill. "Don't talk back. You're lucky we even let you work here." I grabbed my phone, hit record, and propped it on the windowsill, the lens catching the whole scene. Karen's tirade escalated. "You people always mess things up," she sneered, her words laced with a venom that made my stomach turn. Miguel's younger brother, Luis, a lanky kid barely out of high school, stepped forward, his voice trembling but firm. "Ma'am, we're just doing our job. You can't talk to us like that." Karen's eyes narrowed, her face reddening. "Oh, I'll talk however I want. You're on my turf, and I can have you fired or worse." The worse hung in the air like a threat. Darlene smirked, egging her sister on. "Maybe we should call immigration," she said, loud enough for the whole crew to hear. The words hit like a punch. Miguel froze, his hands tightening around a trowel. Luis's face paled, but he didn't back down. "We're legal," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "You don't scare us." Karen laughed, a cruel, guttural sound. "Oh, we'll see about that." I'd had enough. I stepped outside, my heart pounding, but I kept my voice calm. "Karen, Darlene, what's going on?" I asked, feigning ignorance. Karen spun toward me, her eyes blazing. "Your workers are incompetent, and we're making sure they know it," she snapped. "This is HOA business." I raised an eyebrow, glancing at Miguel, who gave me a subtle nod. He'd seen my phone recording. "Good. HOA business doesn't include threats," I said, keeping my tone even. "You're on my property, and I'd like you to leave." Karen's jaw dropped, as if I'd slapped her. Darlene stepped forward, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're new here, so we'll let that slide. But you don't tell us what to do." I smiled, pointing to the small security camera mounted above my back door. "I'm not telling you. I'm asking. And I'm recording." The color drained from Karen's face. Darlene sputtered, "You can't do that." I shrugged. "It's my property. I can. And I have been for the DA." The lie about the district attorney slipped out, but it hit the mark. Karen's bravado crumbled, her eyes darting to the camera. "You're bluffing," she hissed, but her voice wavered. I didn't respond, letting the silence weigh on her. Miguel and Luis exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of relief and disbelief. The sisters stormed off, muttering about legal action and disrespect. I stopped the recording and emailed it to my lawyer, just in case. But the story didn't end there. Word spread fast in our small neighborhood. By evening, my phone buzzed with texts from neighbors who'd heard about the confrontation. Some were shocked, others weren't surprised. Karen's been bullying people for years, one neighbor wrote. About time someone stood up to her. The next day, I filed a formal complaint with the HOA board, attaching the video. Karen and Darlene's reign of terror had been caught on tape, and the evidence was damning. At the next HOA meeting, the board, tired of the sisters' antics, voted to remove them from their positions. Karen tried to argue, her voice rising to that familiar screech, but the room was done with her. "You've overstepped," the board president said, his tone final. Darlene sat silently, her usual smirk gone. The fallout was swift. Neighbors started sharing their own stories of Karen's intimidation, delivery drivers harassed, gardeners berated, even kids scolded for playing too loudly. The video I'd recorded became the spark that ignited a reckoning. Karen and Darlene's influence crumbled, their once feared presence reduced to whispers and averted glances. They stopped showing up at community events, their absence a quiet victory for everyone they'd bullied. Miguel and his crew finished the patio a week later. It was perfect, smooth bricks, clean lines, a small oasis in my backyard. I invited them over for beers to celebrate, and we laughed about the Karen incident. Luis, still shaken but proud, raised his bottle. "To karma," he said. We clinked glasses, the sound ringing like justice. Karen and Darlene thought they could control everyone, but they didn't count on being recorded. Their arrogance was their downfall, a lesson in what happens when you underestimate others. The neighborhood felt lighter without their shadow, a reminder that even the loudest voices can be silenced by truth. For me, it was a lesson too. Sometimes, all it takes is a phone, a camera, and the courage to hit record. The end.